Africa is not a monolith. It holds a dizzying wealth of history, resources, and traditions, and the full spectrum of struggles faced by many young nation-states. And while the world's fastest-growing continent plays a relatively small role on this stage, the person who next lives at the White House, whether that is former Republican President Donald Trump or Democratic President Joe Biden, will need to make policy choices that address the fast-changing economic and security conditions in Africa. Trump's past Africa stance, they say, can be summed up with one unprintable word he allegedly used to describe African countries and the Caribbean nation of Haiti.
I mean, he used famously this expletive to refer to a number of countries in Africa, and then he pursued a strategy and a policy that was really focused on trying to look at the burning issues in Africa, the security issues, the hot issues, and trying to stamp those out. But there really wasn't a larger grand strategy.
Biden has emphasized values-driven partnership on the continent, but much of that has been overshadowed by his administration's push against Russian influence in Africa and U.S. support of Israel.
I think Africans are also looking well beyond our policies in Africa, looking at the war in the Middle East, the war in Gaza, and U.S. support to Israel, for example, or the demands that African countries not do business with or engage in relations with Russia. So I think they're seeing a certain degree of hypocrisy in the Biden administration's policies globally, and that's not making them many new friends in Africa.
This is something South Africa highlighted in accusing Israel of breaching the United Nations Genocide Convention with a landmark case at the UN's top court. The Biden administration, when asked by VOA in January, dismissed the case as meritless. Analysts say this shot at America's credibility invites adversaries to take advantage.
You're going to need that credibility because at one point someone is going to say, another superpower is going to step in and say, right, I am not being preferential. I earnestly do not care about human rights in any part of the world, and therefore, at least, that makes me better.
Hudson says the next U.S. president will meet an increasingly emboldened continent.
I think that any new American president is going to have to grapple with the declining influence that Washington has on the continent of Africa, and how much more African countries are asserting their own rights and privileges and speaking increasingly with one voice.
There may be a way to help turn that tide by tackling an oversight both candidates share. Candidates' wives have made official visits to Kenya, Namibia, Egypt, and Malawi, while President Biden dispatched Vice President Kamala Harris to Ghana, Tanzania, and Zambia. However, neither he nor Trump has paid the continent a visit as president. Anita Powell, VOA News, Washington.